Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This afternoon, I almost said this evening, this afternoon, our guest is Melanie Betz, nationally recognized researcher, speaker, and educator in kidney stone nutrition, founder and CEO of the coolest diet website around, the Kidney Dietitian. Melanie's education is striking. She has a master's degree in clinical nutrition from Rush University and a bachelor's degree in dietetics from Michigan State University. She is certified in renal nutrition and has a fellow designation with the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics and the National Kidney Foundation. She is published, and much published, my friends, and presented numerous research articles. She is the current chair-elect for the Renal Practice Group of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics and the current president of the Illinois Council on Renal Nutrition. She regularly speaks at local, state, and national professional conferences to educate other dietitians and healthcare professionals about kidney disease and kidney stone nutrition. Melanie is a specialist in kidney stone nutrition. And let me tell you, those kind of people are very, very hard to find. I tried. Melanie's the only one I could find. Quote, I became interested in kidney stone nutrition during my time at the University of Chicago in a section of nephrology. One of the world's best kidney stone prevention programs is at the University of Chicago, and I was lucky enough to work with some of the top doctors and kidney stone prevention specialists during my time there. I was floored at how much there was to know about kidney stone nutrition, how important nutrition is for kidney stone prevention, and how little dietitians are aware of this growing field. I was immediately obsessed, which is why I started the Kidney Dietitian in the first place, unquote. Quote, it is heartbreaking to hear from people who have been suffering with kidney stones their entire life, or even just once, knowing that there is so much that they could do to stop them. Most people are not even offered basic testing on required to come up with an effective stone prevention plan. If anything, people are given advice that is outdated, not relevant for their situation, or blatantly incorrect. My promise to you is that every single blog post, recipe, email, video, and social media post you see from me is backed 100% by actual science and data, unquote. Please give a warm, warm welcome to our friend, Melanie Betz. Melanie, how are you doing this afternoon?
I am good. Thank you so much for having me, Uncle Jim. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, well, you're welcome. I'm real happy to see you. You're doing such a great job at advising people. I was very pleased that you accepted our invitation.
Yeah, thank you.
Did I state everything correctly in the introduction?
Yes, that was a very robust introduction. So thank you so much. I think it kind of highlights a little bit of my background, how I got involved in kidney stones in the first place at the University of Chicago, and why I'm so passionate about what I do, which is really just educating people about accurate information for kidney stone prevention. So
tell us, what is a registered dietitian, and what is the process that you go through to become a registered dietitian?
That's a great question, because I feel like there's a lot of confusion out there between a dietitian and a nutritionist. So a nutritionist, like, that term is not regulated. So literally anyone in the world can call themselves a nutritionist, but a dietitian has gone through actual training. So in order to become a RD or RDN, both of those credentials are the same as registered dietitian or registered dietitian nutritionist. So you have to go to an undergrad program to get a degree in dietetics. And then you have to go through a relatively robust internship. I kind of don't like the word internship because it doesn't really do it justice. You have to, it's basically like a medical rotation, right? Like you have a gastroenterology nutrition, you'll have a kidney rotation, you'll have a diabetes rotation, right? You'll have all these different things. And you learn how food can impact diseases. Like that is what a dietitian specializes in, is treating all these different medical conditions with food, or helping to treat all these different medical conditions with food. So after that, you are eligible to sit for the RD registration exam. So you take that exam, and then after that, you're a dietitian. So at that point, you are a RD for the rest of your life. You just have to continue to do continuing education. So every 5 years, you have to get so many credits, and then you're a dietitian. So easy peasy, right?
Okay. You are a verified you are verified in renal nutrition as well?
Yes. Yep. So that's an exam that you take every 5 years, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, I know I'm due again next year. So fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. What inspired you to pursue a career as a registered dietitian?
Honestly, I just love food. Like, I remember thinking, I knew I was going to go to Michigan State. I grew up in the Lansing area. I'm a big Spartan, go green. And I was literally looking down the list of majors and I was like, dietetics, like that looks interesting. What's that? And then I love food. Like I said, I've always loved trying foods, new recipes. I love cooking, trying different ethnic cuisines. Like that's just been a big part of my life. And I knew I wanted to work with people. Like I love being with people. I'm a pretty outgoing person, I think, most of the time. And I remember looking at the courses that I would have to take, and I was like, that looks interesting. And so I fell into it and actually stuck with it. And here I am today. So it really just kind of combines my love of food and helping people is kind of the root of why I chose dietetics in the first place.
Okay. Why did you pursue a specialty in the area of kidney stone education and prevention?
Yeah. So it really kind of comes back to my time at the University of Chicago. I fell into that position, honestly, at the University of Chicago. I wasn't especially interested in kidneys before that, but had left academic medicine for a short amount of time and really missed that. And so this position opened up and I was like, that sounds cool. So just kind of fell in love with it there. I learned a ton about kidney disease. That was really what I did mostly at the University of Chicago, because most patients are being seen for kidney disease. But there's also that kidney stone prevention program, which I was just fascinated by, both kidney disease and kidney stones, but especially kidney stones, just because, like you said in my introduction or in my quote, like there's just so much that nutrition has to do with stone prevention. And I had no idea that this existed, right? Like I graduated from one of the top dietetics programs in the country. And I barely knew that you had to drink more water to prevent stones. Like what? There's so much more to it. And it was just fascinating, like how important nutrition was, and also how little dietitians know about stone prevention, and also potentially doctors and just, people just really don't know that how much nutrition has to can improve these conditions. Right. And so I just kind of sort of took it as my mission to educate the world as much as I can about what I was learning. So it's kind of how I fell into it.
Okay. How does one become a specialist in a particular area of a registered dietitian?
So there are a couple official certifications. So I'm certified in renal nutrition. So if you see under my name there, it says MS, master's degree, dietitian, and then CSR, so certified specialist in renal nutrition. There's also one for diabetes. There's one for oncology. And there's maybe like 6 or so of these different certifications. All of those require experience working in that area, as well as taking that exam. So for those 6 or so certifications, that's how you do it. But other than that, there's not really an official, way that you become certified in something. Like there's not like a kidney stone certification. So that's just kind of, your experience and saying that you're an expert in, but there's not really an official way, unfortunately, for doctors or dietitians to say like, hey, I'm truly an expert in kidney stone prevention. There's not really a good way other than just talking to them and getting a better idea of what their experience is working in stone prevention.
Are most doctors or dietitians very well versed in kidney stone prevention?
Unfortunately, no. So as I mentioned, like when I graduated from school and like I had no idea that there was anything to know about kidney stones, honestly, because it's just not part of things that dietitians have to learn, right? Like we have to learn. There's official massive curriculums and rubrics of things that dietetic interns have to learn. So we have to learn about like high cholesterol, diabetes, kidney disease, like inflammatory bowel disease and, all of these sort of standard things that we have to learn about. But kidney stones is unfortunately not part of that. And so most dietitians have had minimal, if zero education when it comes to stone prevention. And doctors, unfortunately, it's not much better, especially when you think about nutrition. Doctors are not required to have any nutrition training at all, which I think isn't great, but also I think that's why dietitians exist, right? Like we can't all be experts in everything. I am not a doctor. They do things that I certainly don't feel comfortable with. And I'm a dietitian and I do things that they aren't comfortable with, right? So I think that's why dietitians exist. And so I think doctors should probably have a bit more exposure, but that's really where we come in. And when we think about stone prevention, so most people with kidney stones are going to be seeing a urologist. A urologist is a surgeon who is the person who is getting rid of your stones, right? Which is a very important role to play. Certainly, if you have a stone and it's causing issues, like we generally want to get rid of it. So a urologist is a surgeon who will go in and do surgery or uroscopy or whatever it is that they think is a good idea to get rid of your stones. But unfortunately, urology fellowships don't have standard prevention training. So urologists generally don't have a lot of knowledge when it comes to actually preventing stones. They're really good at getting rid of stones, but when it comes to prevention, there is not much education that happens. And so, and certainly not on the nutrition side of things either, or on the medical side of things. So if you really are interested in stone prevention, it's probably in your best interest to also see a nephrologist for stone prevention. But that being said, not all nephrologists really understand stone prevention either. But typically, if a nephrologist is working with someone with stones, it's really more on that preventative side of things, whereas the urologist is the one who's getting rid of stones. Both very important roles to play, but we just want to make sure both sides of things are kind of being covered. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay.
In your work as a dietitian specializing in kidney stone education and prevention, is there such a thing as a single kidney stone diet, or does the diet have to be tailored to individual needs?
That is something I am very passionate about. And there is absolutely not one kidney stone diet. Just like there's no one diet for kidney disease, right? Even for the same type of kidney stone, right? Like calcium oxalate stones are by far the most common type of stone. But everyone who is forming calcium oxalate stones is forming them for a different reason. Maybe one person is forming them because they have high urine calcium. Another person is forming them because they have high urine oxalate. Another person is forming them because they have low citrate, right? There's tons of different reasons why you are forming stones. And we have to figure out what that reason is to come up with an effective stone prevention plan for you. And so this notion of this one kidney stone diet or the calcium oxalate stone diet is made up. There's literally no recommendations along those ways. They're like, we really have to be looking at what's going on in your urine chemistry to come up with a kidney stone diet for you. So no, that was a long answer to your question that no, there's no one kidney stone diet.
Okay, would it be fair for me to say then that in general, you and your group emphasize personalized individual diets for patients?
Yes, absolutely. Because in addition to everything that I just said that was all sciencey about kidney stones, everyone is different, right? Like people have different food preferences and likes and dislikes and cultural considerations and other medical history, right? Like oftentimes people don't just have kidney stones. A lot of times people also have diabetes or osteoporosis or high cholesterol or kidney disease, and so all of these things have to be considered when we're coming up with what makes sense for you to eat.
Okay. Let's talk about your online business, the Kidney Dietitian. You are the founder and CEO, is that correct?
Yes.
And when was it founded?
I believe it technically went live in April of 2020. It was my COVID project.
Okay.
Mhm.
And it's located online at www.thekidneydietitian.org.
Yes.
Okay. And just so our audience understands, the link to the website is currently scrolling across the page. And if you go to my personal page on Facebook, this broadcast is pinned to the top of my personal page. And in the comments, I put all of my research that I did to get ready for Melanie's broadcast today. And that includes the link to this website and all of the other links that I'm going to show you today. So if things go by too fast and you want information, just go to my personal page and click on the comments to the broadcast, and everything you'll be looking for is there. So we're trying to get you together with Melanie if you need to do that. What does the kidney dietitian provide for kidney patients? How is it that you and your group help kidney patients?
Yeah. So we do a lot of education. If you go to that website, you will see that there is a very robust blog. I have over 150 articles and also a ton of recipes, all about both kidney disease and kidney stones. And they're all categorized so you can see what's most relevant to you. I also have a pretty robust Facebook and Instagram following where I do a lot of education around kidney stone nutrition and also a podcast, the Eat Away Kidney Stones podcast. So I have all of these free resources to just educate the world. Because like I said, I started the Kidney Dietitian almost as this ethical call to put good quality stone and CKD information out into the world because there's so much crap out there. Forgive my English, but I was so sick and tired of patients coming to me when I was working at the University of Chicago, just like following completely the wrong things, reading these terrible things online that were honestly sabotaging their efforts to improve their kidney health. And I was like, I have to do something about it. So the Kidney Dietitian is first and foremost a platform to educate the world truly about proper kidney nutrition. And then you can also work more directly with us. So we have my online course, Kidney Stone Nutrition School, which will teach you how to identify what your urine risk factors are and learn how to modify your diet and how to actually do that to prevent stones for you. So that is another way that we help people prevent stones. And we also have dietitians who work for me who can work with you one-on-one. So if you want to work directly with a kidney stone dietitian, we also have that as a possibility as well. I also have a lot of diet guides and like patient handouts and cookbooks and those types of things available on my website as well. So tons of different, lots of different stuff going on with the Kidney Dietitian.
All right, and just so people can see, first of all, Melanie's social media presence. There are all of the links that are listed in her website, where you can find her on Instagram and Facebook. A link to her free email list, YouTube, Twitter X. I'm still calling it Twitter.
I know, I do too. I don't think I can call it X.
Pinterest, and the other thing, parts of her website. There are the links to things like her Eat Away Kidney Stones podcast, Kidney Stones Nutrition School, and the one-on-one patient packages. And there are resources for dietitian and healthcare professionals. And when she speaks at a conference, her published presentations and publications. Those things are all available
A lot up there.
on her website. They're running across your screen. And as I said earlier, if you're interested in these things and this stuff is going by too fast, go to my personal Facebook page, Jim Myers, click on this broadcast, go to the comments. All of these links are in the comments, so you can find them. There are a couple things I wanted to ask you about. Talk to us about the Eat Away Kidney Stones podcast. What is that all about primarily?
Thank you for asking. My podcast, I think, is maybe my favorite thing that I do. Maybe it would be hard to pick, but I started it just a year ago, almost exactly. And that is a wonderful podcast. Honestly, I mean for it to be patient facing. I create the episodes meaning for patients to listen to them and people who want to learn what they can do to prevent stones. But I've also heard from a lot of dietitians that they love it as well, and also urologists and other healthcare professionals that deal with people who have kidney stones. But it's honestly it's a lot of just education, right? Learning about how to get in enough calcium, how much salt should you be eating. I do a lot of interviews. So, I did an interview with my good friend Edith Yang, who's a fellow renal dietitian, for the episode that just came out this week. And we talked about how Chinese food can fit on a kidney-friendly diet. And, I have talks on there with nephrologists who specialize in kidney stones and urologists. And it's just kind of a whole hodgepodge of things that people with kidney stones should know when it comes to what to eat.
Okay. One of the cool things that I think you do that is unique to you and your group are the emails that you send out. And these are free, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, my newsletter is free.
Okay, you can find that at www.kidneystonefreebie.com. I like that, freebie. Tell us a little bit about the kind of things that you send out to people. I think I'm getting them like twice a month. Does that sound approximately right?
You should be getting it once a week, hopefully.
Once a week. Jim, pay attention.
Yeah. So you get, if you're on my email list, you get my kidney feed, which is my newsletter. And when you sign up, you'll tell me if you're mostly interested in kidney stones or kidney disease. So I'll send you content that's most relevant to you. But in the kidney feed email, you'll get updates about new blog posts or kind of highlighting other blog posts that maybe you would have missed. You get recipes, all free recipes. I also take reader questions. So you can always submit a question for a chance to get answered in the newsletter. So you'll get all of that, and you'll also get little notes from me, little tips and tricks, some of my favorite products, just a lot of other educational content around all of the things that I was just talking about. So a lot of education. It always comes back to education.
Okay. The other thing I thought was pretty cool was the Kidney Stone Nutrition School. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So that is my online course to help people who are suffering from kidney stones learn what they can do to prevent them. Because as I said before, there is no one single kidney stone diet. And unfortunately, basically all of the information that you're going to get on the internet, and unfortunately probably from your doctor even, is super generic, right? It's saying like, oh, everyone should limit all the protein. Everyone should stop eating oxalate. And that is simply not true. We really need to look at your urine and see what's going on. So the course teaches you how to look at your 24-hour urine test, which is the only way to know what is going on and causing stones for you. So teaches you how to look through that test, and then how to identify your urine risk factors, and then we'll tell you exactly what to do to reduce your risk of stones. So in a nutshell, that's what the course is. If you choose to join at a VIP level, then you also have the ability to submit that 24-hour urine test to me directly, and I will give you some written recommendations. And you also can join in live group calls with me. So the course is all recorded. You can listen to it on your own time. You actually have lifetime access as well, including any updates that I make in the future. And as Jim sort of hinted at, science-based quality information is very, very core to what I do. And so I update that course as science changes, because that happens as we learn more and more. So you have that lifetime access, and also those group calls with me if you join as a VIP. So it really is pretty amazing. I'm actually collecting data right now, trying to look at outcomes, to give us hard numbers to see people who have taken kidney stone nutrition school. I want an actual number, and I actually want to publish the data to show like, hey, like this actually matters. Like working with a dietitian in this online course actually matters, because I know that it does. People send me emails all the time. I haven't had a kidney stone since working with you. My 24-hour urine test came back with all green numbers, but I want to actually have hard data to show that. So I'm super pumped about this project. I actually finally dove into this data collection this week. So really excited about that.
One of the things that we've talked briefly about that I think is like the coolest feature of your website and your group is the one-on-one patient packages. And our friend Kelly that recently has been assigned to deal with that. Can you talk about that a little bit? www.thekidneydietitian.org/clients/ what is that all about?
Yeah. So I've had Kidney Stone Nutrition School, my course, as my sort of core offering and how I help people for 3 years now. But people are always looking, understandably, for that one-to-one interaction, right? Like people say, how do I find a kidney stone dietitian? And my answer usually is, I don't know, right? I truly only know of 3-4 kidney stone dietitians nationwide, because as I mentioned earlier, there's really just like stone education is just not part of our curriculum and training as dietitians. And so I am so excited to offer the ability for patients to work with kidney stone dietitians through the Kidney Dietitian. So Kelly is my dietitian, and I'm hoping to hire more soon. My goal is to have dietitians that cover the whole country. That's my big goal. Hopefully in a year or so I'll get there, but we just started with Kelly. So she can work with people who live in Illinois, Virginia, or California. And she's willing to get licensed in other states. If you're a really good fit, she would love to increase her repertoire of states that she's licensed in. But I just envision, the kidney dietitian being this home base for all resources that people with kidney stones need from a nutrition standpoint. And people need dietitians to help them prevent stones. And people can work with me in the course, but a lot of people want that more individualized experience. And so now I can offer you that too through Kelly and more dietitians, hopefully soon in the future. So these patient packages include what you'd expect, right? You're going to get individual sessions with Kelly or your dietitian. You're going to get unlimited chat support in between sessions during the length of your package. You also get access to Kidney Stone Nutrition School. You also get sort of this fancy analysis of your diet, and kind of like everything. It's everything that I could possibly think that you need to kind of set you up for success in preventing stones, I put in those patient packages. So if that sounds interesting, definitely check that out. If to get started, all you have to do is book a free call with Kelly. You can schedule it right from my website at thekidneydietitian.org/clients, and just kind of get to know her, make sure that you're a good fit, because not all people are going to be a great fit for all dietitians. I totally get that. So you want to make sure that you're working with someone that feels right for you, and also learn a little bit more about how those packages work. So if you are at all interested, definitely go check that out.
You've mentioned that there's little teaching that goes on for dietitians and healthcare professionals about diet and about kidney stone nutrition, but your group has a resource for those people, resources for dietitians and healthcare professionals. Can you tell us a little bit about what that's all about?
Sure. Yeah, because I say that my mission or vision officially of my company, of the Kidney Dietitian, is to help to improve the nutrition care, to improve nutrition prevention for all people with kidney stones. And for me to meet that vision, I obviously need to teach other dietitians how to do this, because I certainly cannot do it all myself. And so to help me do that, I created Dishing Out Prevention, which is my kidney stone dietitian training. So it's has CEU associated if you're a dietitian and are listening out there. And so it really just is my everything that I would want a dietitian to know about kidney stones, so they can effectively help people with kidney stones stop getting kidney stones. That is in my training. And all dietitians that, like Kelly has taken it, and all dietitians that I hire, will have taken my training, because I want to make sure that obviously any dietitian that you see as part of the kidney dietitian knows what they're talking about, right? I need to make sure that they are well trained and are a kidney stone expert, just like me. So.
Okay. You mentioned, and we talked about in the introduction, that you speak at a lot of professional conferences, and you also publish a lot of professional material. There's a section of your website that's dedicated to presentations and publications. Can you talk to us a little bit about the kinds of things that appear there?
Yeah. That's a lot. So we'll start with the presentations. Again, to help meet my vision of improving the care of everyone with stones, I need to educate other dietitians and healthcare professionals. And so as part of my business structure, I also do a lot, probably like once a month or so, do some sort of professional talk. So a lot of talks at, like the Chicago Dietetic Association or the Illinois Associations, or I went to West Virginia, or North Carolina, or I'm going to Wisconsin next month. I do a lot of speaking about kidney stone nutrition. I'm also on the planning committee for the National Kidney Foundation meeting, and I've really been pushing successfully, I might add, to get kidney stones on that agenda for that national NKF meeting. Some exciting presentations I have coming up. I have two talks at the American Society of Nephrology meeting this fall in San Diego, which I'm super pumped about, because most of my speaking has been for dietitians, which is wonderful. I love talking dietitians. They're my people. But I often feel like we really have to get to the doctors, right? We have to get to the doctors so they understand how important nutrition is, so they refer their patients to see dietitians. And so I am super, super, super pumped that I will be speaking twice for a giant group of nephrologists in San Diego this fall. So wish me luck.
And you mentioned the NKF. I just wanted to say, I've seen a couple of your videos that you've done for them recently. I think the one that sticks out in my mind is there was something about ribs. Uncle Jim loves ribs.
I do.
So,
I love ribs too. I did ribs. Oh,
folks.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Any rate, folks. She's doing these videos for the National Kidney Foundation. So if you happen to see them, think of our friend Melanie. Okay.
Give me some love.
Right.
Yeah.
What is your nutrition philosophy? What is your goal?
Oh man, that's a very philosophical question. I think my nutrition philosophy is to help people enjoy eating in a way that promotes their health, right? Like, my approach to nutrition is very individualized and very much like, I guess, like the cultural and enjoyment, and like, food is good, right? Like, food is joy and it's emotional, and that is a good thing. I feel like our world has unfortunately reduced food to be like nutrients and like, good, bad foods. And like, that is not my approach at all. I think that you must in fact still enjoy food and enjoy eating, enjoy thinking about what you're going to make for dinner, and still improve your kidney health or blood sugars or whatever your goals are from a health perspective. So whenever, you're never, ever, ever going to hear me say you cannot eat something unless you're allergic to it or something, or you have celiac disease. You probably shouldn't have gluten. But like, my approach is very all foods fit and individualized to something that's going to work for you. Because if it's not, what's the point, right? Like, I feel like you can go online and find all these diets that tell you to eat whatever. Fine, you can do that. You can do that for a week, a month, maybe a few months. But like, is that really going to help you in the long run? No, right? Because you cannot do that, nor should you do that for the rest of your life. So whatever approach that you are doing has to be individualized to you, your health, and what's doable and that you like, right? Like, all of these things have to be there in order for this to actually be a health promoting behavior and change,
Okay. I did know from your group? You guys work as a team. You're not all by yourself, correct?
Yes, I've expanded recently. So yes, we have 3 employees and 4, including myself, at the Kidney Dietitian. Yes.
Okay. Please explain why oxalate or oxalates are in certain foods. Why is that important? Why are your oxalate amounts different from other people's? And what is this about the Harvard list?
Yeah, so that is a big question, and I could talk for probably 20 hours about all of those things. So I'll try to keep it short. So oxalate comes up a lot in kidney stone nutrition because most stones, about 75% of stones, are made of calcium oxalate. And so as a result, we've unfortunately, all that's talked about pretty much in kidney stone prevention is a low oxalate diet. Well, oxalate exists in basically all healthy foods. You're going to find oxalate in basically all vegetables in varying amounts, but in basically all vegetables, in most fruits, in all whole grains. And these are all foods that are really, really good for you generally, and ironically are really good for kidney stone prevention as well. And so there's all of this noise out there like, oh, have to be on a low oxalate diet. But when we're starting to understand and the recommendations are starting to slowly reflect the data that shows that eating more plant foods, eating more fruits and vegetables and whole grains and nuts and seeds, all of these exact foods that are going to be limited on a low oxalate diet are good for your kidneys, both from a kidney disease and kidney stone standpoint. And so I actually really do not advocate for a low oxalate diet. And like I said, I could talk for so many hours. I do talk for so many hours about this. I have lots of podcasts. But just know that if you are trying to prevent stones, please do not fall into the low oxalate diet trap, because I really do fear that it could be sabotaging your efforts. And I guarantee that there are other things that you should be focusing on that are going to be much, much more effective at preventing your stones, and be much more health promoting behaviors. So one of the reasons that I do not advocate for low oxalate diet, and I certainly do not advocate for counting how much oxalate you eat, is because it is truly impossible to know exactly how much oxalate is in the food that you eat. Oxalate is apparently very difficult to measure in foods. And so there's a lot of old ways that they were measuring it, like just bad information that's still floating around the internet. So there also a lot of the oxalate advice or like facts have been like just people have been lazy about presenting it. So for example, almonds tend to be a bit higher in oxalate than other nuts. But there's huge differences in how much oxalate is in different types of nuts. But over time, the advice or the information given is, oh, nuts are high in oxalate. So people feel that they can't eat any nuts, which is 100% false. And honestly, hurts them because there's a lot of things that are really good in nuts that's going to help prevent stones. So you asked about the Harvard oxalate list. And the reason that that's discussed all the time is because Harvard and actually just updated it, which is exciting because the last one was in 2002, I think. And just in 2023, they updated it. And we know that that is accurate. That's just the list that tends to be used most in academic circles. So we know that if you are going to be concerned about oxalate, that generally is going to be a more accurate list. But honestly, I hate a low oxalate diet in general. It's not something that I recommend. I think as long as you're getting in enough calcium to help reduce how much oxalate gets absorbed into your system, we know that eating enough calcium is going to help reduce the risk of stones. There's no data out there at all to show that a low oxalate diet reduces the risk of stones. That's getting into whole other topics, but hopefully that answers your questions, Jim. Like basically low oxalate diet, do not recommend. Harvard list is going to be the most accurate, but honestly, I wouldn't even look at it because there's going to be other things that you can do to prevent stones, and a low oxalate diet is not the answer.
And you do have a link to that on your webpage too, the CKD page /oxalate, OXALATE. So you can check that out. One of the things that I've been very impressed about, and that I think differentiates the material that you put out compared to some of the others, is how trustworthy your material is, how accurate it is. So when we get things from you, like your free emails or your reviews or your recipes, I know that that stuff is accurate. Can you discuss with us your editorial process, how you ensure that the materials you send out to us as kidney patients is accurate?
Yeah. I would say I ensure that because I basically write everything. And as has been discussed, science and research is very, very important to me. I spent most of my career in academic medicine and have published a fair amount myself. And so science-based evidence is something that I feel is a ethical responsibility of me as a dietitian. And so, yeah, everything that I write, you're gonna see actual references to actual PubMed real research in all of my content where relevant. I do have, so I write it all. I think I imagine all bloggers, including myself, I probably get 10 email requests a day from people wanting to write guest posts on my blog, and I say no, unless you're a dietitian. They never are. Like, you are not. I'm not going to take that and put that on my site, right? Like, I have a lot of pride in the information that I give out, and also a lot of I feel very humbled, and I feel like a responsibility to the people who are on my email list or who are following me online. Like, you're trusting me, right? Like, you're trusting me to give you health advice, and it is my ethical duty to make sure that that advice is accurate and based in science. And so I'm not gonna take money for people to post something on my site because it's not from me. I do work with students. So there are students, nutrition students, who have written content on my site, but I, of course, edit and review all of that before it goes live. So yeah, I have a lot of control over the content that goes out in the Kidney Dietitian, no matter where it is, whether it's my podcast or social media or emails or my blog.
Okay. Just so people understand, true or false, your reviews are written by you. They're supported by peer-reviewed research with scientific citations.
True.
All right. Let's talk about your recipes for a minute. I see this guy on TikTok all the time that's drinking beer and putting things together that I know that if I ate half of what he does, I'd use up all my good nutrition for the day as far as my transplanted kidney is concerned.
Yeah.
How do you ensure that your recipes are solid, that they're good for kidney patients, they're good for people that are concerned about kidney stones? How do you ensure that?
I make them all myself, or my students do. So all of the recipes that you see on there, I've made myself, or my students have made themselves. And we do the actual nutrition analysis. Most food bloggers use like an automated system that's in WordPress, like it's all kind of automated, but I actually, or my students, do actual hand analysis of all those recipes, so you have the most accurate nutrition information possible for them. And yeah, I honestly, most of those recipes, or a lot of them, are things that I make myself, or at periods of my life were sort of in my regular rotation. Like I'm thinking of the Southwest quinoa that's on there. That's one of my favorites. Like, that's a recipe that I made myself all the time. And so I just, yeah, they're all actually tested by me. It's not like I just go find a recipe or ask ChatGPT to make a recipe. These are all tested and analyzed by me or students.
Okay. So I understand your recipes are personally tested by yourself and approved, individually analyzed, and you have experience like at Rush Medical, where you had whole departments and all of the patients were dependent on your recipes. Is that a fair statement?
I would say not at Rush, but when I worked at US Foods, I did a lot of work with US Foods menus that went out to nursing homes. So I have a lot of experience with menu planning there. Yeah.
Okay. Talk to us a little bit about your feeling that food is medicine, or food as medicine, making it a form of medicine for everybody.
Yeah.
What is that all about, and how do you educate the public?
Yeah. So I kind of have a love-hate relationship with that saying that food is medicine or food is medicine, because I think sometimes people put a little bit too much weight on food. I think that nutrition is incredibly important for kidney health and for most health. Obviously, it's what I do. I'm a dietitian. But I feel that sometimes people take that too far and think I don't need to take medicine, right? And medicine, pills are very, very important. Like food can do wonders, but it can only do so much. So I think food is food and is magical and can have huge impacts on your health, but medicine is medicine. And there's a time and a place for both. And I think oftentimes they work together, right? I think it's unfortunate because our medical system is set up, unfortunately, right, that we give people medicine all the time, which I'm not opposed to. I love, all for medicine. I think there's lots of times, but unfortunately, the option to try to do whatever change they're trying to make with food isn't discussed. And certainly, even if you are taking medication, there are nearly always ways that diet and lifestyle can help support that medication and help make it work as effectively as possible. And that's not really discussed, right? So I think basically, I think food is food and medicine is medicine, but they both need to be at the table. And unfortunately, food is not at the table, or nutrition is not at the table most often.
Okay. One of the issues that I hear very frequently from my fellow PKD patients is something that comes up on your website. How can I get enough calcium if I'm not supposed to eat dairy? What's your response to that?
So my question is, why are you not supposed to eat dairy? So if you do not have reduced kidney function, you brought up PKD, so that's making me a little bit hesitant to say, because if you do have reduced kidney function, then via PKD or CKD for whatever cause, then potentially eating a lot of dairy isn't a great option. But for most people with kidney stones, you do not have reduced kidney function. And honestly, most people with PKD also don't have reduced kidney function either. With PKD, your kidney function stays really high until it kind of doesn't. But for most people, dairy is a wonderful source of calcium. And dairy and eating enough calcium, which is super counterintuitive, is actually very important to prevent calcium-based stones, specifically oxalate stones. Because when you eat dairy, that calcium, combines with oxalate in your intestine, and then you poop out that oxalate, as opposed to that oxalate getting absorbed into your system and eventually getting excreted in your urine, where it's going to increase your risk of stones. And so we see in study after study after study that people who eat dairy, who eat enough calcium, have a massively reduced risk of oxalate stones. One study, so literally just that one change reduced, like the landmark study found that it reduced the risk of stones by 50%, just simply getting in enough calcium. And so assuming that you have normal kidney function, dairy is always my go-to recommendation for getting in that calcium to help reduce the risk of oxalate stones.
Okay. Let's talk for a minute about some of your research work. Can you tell us about some of the things that you're currently researching now?
Yeah. So I stepped down from my position at the University of Chicago after I had twins about 2 years ago, which was a very difficult decision because I loved being in academic medicine, but it just didn't make sense in this chapter of life with twin infants at that time to carry on when I had the kidney dietitian, which was bringing in enough to support me. So my research has slowed a bit, but when I was at the University of Chicago, I was publishing a lot about doctor and patient perceptions of plant-based diets and chronic kidney disease, and really starting to dive into kidney stones, kind of looking at effective strategies for nutrition strategies for preventing stones. And since research is so important to me professionally and ethically, like I said, I just really feel like it's something that all dietitians should be involved in some way. I'm super excited that I'm starting to find ways to publish, even though I'm out on my own and not associated with the University of Chicago. And so I mentioned that my first big paper that I'm hoping to publish, literally just started collecting the data this week, so give me time, but is to actually show that my course, Kidney Stone Nutrition School, actually prevents stones and actually improves urine chemistries. So that is a big thing that I'm hoping to publish. I'm also hoping to prove that my course actually improved patient knowledge, right? So I want to, it's one thing to improve knowledge, which is great. We need to show that dietitians can help improve knowledge, but even better to show that it actually reduced the risk of stones. So lots of little side projects like that. I found myself, especially now that I'm not at an academic institution, doing a lot more review papers. I have a paper coming out in Nephrology Times in a bit to talk about the role of or importance of dietitians in kidney stone care. So just kind of starting to dabble and figure out how I can continue to publish now that I'm not associated with an academic institution anymore.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about your work as a writer and some of your publications, and in particular, the ebooks that appear on your website. Stop Kidney Stones from Your Kitchen, Summer and Winter editions, Recipes for Kidneys, Kidney Stone Diet Guides. These are all things that appear on your website. Can you talk to us about some of your publications?
Yeah. So my favorite one of the one that you just listed is Stop Kidney Stones from Your Kitchen. That was actually my very first product that I offered as the kidney dietitian years ago. And that book is actually now available on Amazon. So if it's available as an ebook on my website, but if you Google Stop Kidney Stones from Your Kitchen, it'll show up on Amazon. So you can get it as a real book, which feels very fancy. It's really exciting. That just went live a couple months ago. But that is a cookbook. That is my cookbook for people with oxalate stones. It honestly is good for anyone with kidney stones, but specifically those recipes all include dairy because, as I talked about previously, dairy and getting in enough calcium is super important for preventing oxalate stones. And most people should be getting around 2 to 3 servings of dairy a day. Again, if you have reduced kidney function, that may be very different for you, but for most people with stones, that's a good goal. And so I just found people were so sick of drinking milk all the time, which is fair. Like 2 to 3 servings a day is a lot, right? Like it gets old. And so I was like, well, I'm going to create fun ways to incorporate that dairy. And so all of the recipes in both the summer and winter edition of that cookbook are ways, like unique ways to kind of hide that dairy in your meal, like a creamy soup or a lovely sauce on salmon or a dip or something like that. So it's more like incorporated into your meal rather than just like having a glass of milk on the side, which is totally fine. Nothing wrong with that. But I just feel like that gets old. So that is Stop Kidney Stones from Your Kitchen. I also have Recipes for Your Kidneys. So that is just simply a kidney-friendly cookbook. So that is geared towards people who have chronic kidney disease. So that is a great resource. And I also have the Kidney Stone Diet Guide. So that is a guide that will walk you through your 24-hour urine test, help you identify what is going on, what's off in your urine, and then give you some tips to improve those numbers. So it's sort of like Kidney Stone Nutrition School, but just a much, much, much smaller, less comprehensive version in a book form.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about some of the boards that you sit on. Let's talk about your work as an advisor for the Renal Practice Group, the American Kidney Fund, the National Kidney Foundation of Illinois. What's going on with all that?
Yeah, I have a volunteer problem. I get my feet in everything. So I just love being involved professionally. I think it's really important to helps you network, and also my sort of personal agenda of getting kidney stones in professional education events for people. So the first one you mentioned, I'm an advisor for the American Kidney Fund that I've been 3-4 years now. So I help them create some of their patient handouts and just kind of help give them advice for new offerings and do some speaking and those types of things for the American Kidney Fund. I'm currently president of the Illinois Council of Renal Nutrition. So that's kind of like the nutrition arm of the National Kidney Foundation of Illinois. And for them, I primarily do a lot of event planning. So there's 2 big events per year, professional events. And so I am helping to create that agenda, find speakers, come up with the topics and those types of things. I'm also currently chair-elect of the Renal Practice Group, which is a group of renal dietitians, subgroup of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, which is the big national organization for dietitians. And for that is everything. That is that there's all sorts of different projects going on. So from coming up with review courses to planning the social events at Fancy for those dietitians, to coming up with other resources, to getting involved like with things going on in the lawmaking process that are relevant to renal nutrition, all sorts of different things going on there. So I've lots of different projects. I'm over committed in so many ways, but I like it. I like being busy.
And I should have mentioned some of the videos that I've seen that you've been doing for the NKF. They're not just talks. You're actually preparing dishes in front of the camera so people can see how it's done.
Yeah, which is so fun.
All right. Talk to us a little bit about what, to the extent that you can, what's new with the kidney dietitian. Do you have any future projects, initiatives, or presentations that you haven't mentioned yet that you can talk to us about that are coming up in the future?
I feel like this has been a pretty comprehensive interview. I think the 2 things that I'm most excited about are my one-to-one offering, those one-to-one patient packages. That is something that just started about 2 months ago. It's something that I've been wanting to do for years. And I've been working for a long time getting everything set up logistically to make that happen. So I'm super excited to have that as an offering, just because finding kidney stone dietitians is impossible just because there's so few of us. So super excited to have started that and expand it. Like I said, my vision is to have a dietitian that's licensed in every single state. Maybe I can even figure out a way to work with patients in Canada and Europe and across the globe, which would be amazing. I'll start with the US. So that I'm super pumped about. And also that research, like actually showing that working with a dietitian, having actual hard data to show that working with a kidney stone dietitian can reduce your risk of stones. We have data like that for kidney disease. We know that working with a renal dietitian will slow your progression to dialysis or needing a transplant. But unfortunately, we don't have quite the same level of data for kidney stones. And so I'm super excited to hopefully be able to contribute to that message and get it out to the healthcare community. So.
Okay. It's my custom when I conclude a broadcast with my guest, I always ask, in case there's something I forgot or there's something big that they really want to say, do you have any final statements that you wish to make to our audience before we conclude the broadcast today?
I just want to say thank you so much for having me. I hope that this was an interesting interview for all of you out there. And if you have any questions about anything I said or want to reach out and say hi, I love hearing from you. You can reach out to me on social media, on Instagram at The Kidney Dietitian, or on Facebook. You can just search The Kidney Dietitian and I'll pop up. Or you can send me and my team an email at hello@thekidneydietitian.org. I would love to hear from you and potentially help you prevent stones if that's something that you are struggling with in your life. Great.
Well, Melanie, we managed to get this clicked in under an hour. Do you believe that?
Yes.
Yes.
I talk fast.
So I have a few things that I'm going to button up with my audience. So I just want to say thank you for coming on and thank you for raising awareness and educating us. Wow, what a terrific broadcast. Really covered a lot of ground, and you do so many interesting things. And I'm particularly pleased that you're concerned about accuracy and getting things right and making sure that people get good information about their kidney diet and recipes and your research and things of that nature. And I just want to thank you for coming on again and making sure we're all not stupid about kidney stones, which in my 40s I used to pass like, every other day. So,
Oh, yeah.
and in your Uncle Jim's experience, that's kind of like trying to squeeze a basketball through a garden hose. But
Yeah.
we'll go into that another time. But at any rate, I want to say thank you, and you're free to go. And I will button up what I need to button up with our audience. But again, thank you very much for coming on and making us a little smarter today.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. Have a wonderful day.
You too, my friend. All right, that's concludes our broadcast for the day. I think we all learned something. Of course, it's earlier than my normal time, but I do want you to know I'm going to get the replay up in time so people at our normal time can watch the broadcast. Our guest next week is Jen Benson. Jen is a kidney patient and advocate, so she's on next Friday, August the 9th. You don't want to miss that. Interesting individual, very funny, very funny. She's got a great sense of humor. So it should be an interesting broadcast, and I want to thank you all for checking in tonight, and I hope this was educational for everybody about this, and please share the broadcast so other people can see it, and I thank you for watching. We'll talk to you again next week.